The Girdwood Board of Supervisors is subject to the Alaska Open Meetings Act as found in Alaska Statute 44.62.310 and Cambridge Municipal Code by public meetings. We operate under the Girdwood Public Meeting Standards of Conduct. My name is Jennifer Wingard. I'm co-chair, right now only chair, but maybe not for much longer. And Brian, would you care to do the usual honors with the land use acknowledgement?
Gladly. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors acknowledges the indigenous peoples of Alaska, whose land we reside on. The community of Girdwood, situated between the areas known to be Dena'ina and Aluktik homeland, respects the people who were stewards of this land for generations. We commit to the continued stewardship of this land and are grateful to be part of a wider community that seeks to maintain the sustainable use of Girdwood Valley for present and future peoples.
All right, can I ask staff for a roll call?
We'll start with Kelly Okonek.
Here.
Thank you. Brian Britton.
Here.
Amanda Tuttle. Here. Nick Cruz.
Here.
And Jennifer Wingard.
Here. We can cover any disclosures as part of the items as we get to them. The public is encouraged to ask questions and provide comment. Please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. To help discussion stay productive, please direct your comments to the board rather than other members of the public, and keep your comments focused on business-centered discussion. Please be respectful of everyone's opinions. Under announcements, the GHEC has 2 vacant positions to be filled by registered voters in the Girdwood Valley service area. To be considered for appointment, email gbos.org. And in case you're wondering about that, if you have things to say about affordable housing, that's a really good committee to be involved in. Girdwood Park's master plan project is continuing the approval process. Planning and zoning hearing is scheduled for July 6th. You can find out more information online. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second. Sorry, it's gonna take a minute.
It is, I know, it feels really weird. All right, do we have any discussion or changes? All right, I'm going to take that as approved by Jennifer. Oops. Yes, sorry, Margaret.
See, I at least have Kyle helping me. You have a couple items in new business that I think you want to move to old. So if you take a look there, definitely item number 14.
And is there a time constraint on the fire department things?
I don't think so.
Nope.
All right, since 14, the only,
Yes.
okay. Right, in that case, I'd entertain a motion to move item number 14 into old business.
I'd like to move that we move item number 14 into old business. We have considered the renewals for the herbal cache multiple times over the years, and I think that it's appropriate for us to be able to consider this evening.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, if we have any, do we have any other changes or discussions? If not, then I will take it as assent that we're approving the agenda. All right, likewise, I would like, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from both April 20th and April 27th, the GBOS meeting and the MOA GBOS meeting.
I'd like to move that we approve both sets of minutes this evening.
Second.
Second.
Oh, very good. All right, do we have any further discussion on that? All right, until it gives assent, those have been approved. All right, we have some new people up here and we will get to that, welcoming our new faces. But in the meantime, we would like to very graciously thank our outgoing faces, people. Long service from both of these. So I'll read our, I will read our The first commendation here goes to Mike Edgington, appointed on February of 2017, elected to service at seat D on April 2017, 2020. Sorry, April, I think that's supposed to be April 17. Oh, sorry. April 2017, 2020, and 2025, excuse me. Mike Edgington has served in the capacities of land use liaison from 2017 to 2022 and as housing and economic stability liaison from 2023 to 25. Also served as co-chair of the Board of Supervisors from 2019 to 22 and 2024 to 25. And whereas during this service, many critical events took place which required significant time and attention, including the COVID-19 pandemic onset, occurrence and response, resulting in the switch to online and hybrid meetings, identification of the housing crisis in Girdwood, and effort to gain attention to the differences between Girdwood and the greater Anchorage area in the need and possible methods to address this issue, disparity in the funding of area-wide EMS compared to GVSA funding of Girdwood Fire Department, Holton Hills Development Agreement, which motivated immense community involvement and uprising, and therefore many additional meetings for months and extended time and attentive energy from the body of GBOS. Creation of the grassroots effort under Imagine Girdwood and eventual passing of the Girdwood Comprehensive Plan. Whereas Mike has completed exhaustive research and feedback from a highly technical perspective and has found several instances when assembly and muni actions were set to have unintended negative impacts to Girdwood. And whereas Mike has led efforts to encourage Girdwood to make changes in policy and structure to support an evolving system in Girdwood, including the creation of the Girdwood Housing and Economic Committee as a Girdwood Valley Service Area funded power of the GBOS. And whereas Mike has shared his many technical policy and mathematical skills to discussions with the Girdwood Board of Supervisors, therefore be it resolved that the Girdwood Board of Supervisors thanks Mike Edgington for his longstanding and faithful service on the Girdwood Board of Supervisors. Thank you. Here you go. Whereas Brianna Sullivan was appointed in June of 2020 and elected to service on GBOS seat E in the April 2023 GVSA elections. And whereas during her tenure, Brianna Sullivan has served as the Parks and Recreation Cemetery Liaison from 2020 to 2023 and Fire Service Liaison 2024 to 25 and as co-chair in 2023 to 24. And whereas during this service, critical issues took place and continued, which required significant time and attention, including a long-standing discussion with the municipality of Anchorage regarding the contract for services and appropriate funding for Girdwood's Fire and Rescue's EMS area-wide funding, extensive storm drainage to trails under the management of the Girdwood Parks and Rec Department, Holton Hills development via HLB land exchange, which motivated immense community involvement and uprising and therefore many additional meetings for months and extended time and attentive energy from the body of GBOS. The continued years of work, process, and ultimate approval of the Girdwood Trails Plan, the recent final process and ultimate support of the Girdwood Comprehensive Area Plan, and whereas Brianna has excelled in providing research and thoughtful feedback to local concerns and actions of the GBOS, and whereas Brianna has maintained composure and professionalism throughout her tenure as both a reliable board member and an attentive individual, giving her time serving the community, whereas Brianna volunteers with other local boards and organizations, including Girdwood Nordic Ski Club, coaching, cross-country running, and youth yoga through Four Valleys Community School, participates in the Girdwood Marathon and many other local and regional events. And whereas Brianna has provided emerald perspective to GBOS formally at meetings and informally as an extraordinary volunteer and community leader, therefore be it resolved that the Girdwood Board of Supervisors thanks Brianna Sullivan for her hard work and optimistic focus to all her subjects in her years of service on the Girdwood Board of Supervisors. Thank you. Relax. This is yours. All right, on the consent agenda, we have a letter of non-objection for the Herbal Cash license renewal. Changes on that? We good? Okay. On legislative reports, let's move on to, do we have Kathy Giesel online?
I doubt it. They have a very busy day right now.
Okay, so that means also no Kai Holland, right?
Most likely. Nope.
Okay,
We have Zach.
we do have Zach. All right. I would love to hear from Zach.
All right. Hey, good evening. First off, big thank you to Brianna and Mike for your service on GBOS. Really enjoyed working with you and sorry to see you go, but also excited to start working with the new members there. I just have a few updates to highlight for you all. First off, in the last assembly meeting in April, we finalized the 2026 budget process with first quarter budget revisions. One significant change in there that the mayor brought forward was operationalizing the AFD Wildland Division. Very grateful for that. That helps, I think, establish the presumption that that unit will continue to operate as part of the AFD even after the grant funding expires next year. We also had in there the only new spending in first quarter budget revisions was funding for an Anchorage Fire Department staffing study. Maybe not quite as pertinent to Girdwood, but thought I'd mention it. The wood lots are open. You can drop off your wood Monday through Saturday at either the Central Transfer Facility or the Anchorage Regional Landfill. It is free Friday and Saturday at the Regional Landfill. Otherwise, it is $20. Couple upcoming items to highlight for you all. There's an ordinance co-sponsored by myself and member McCormick authorizing hay sales at large domestic animal facilities. This is things like horse and cow farms. I'm not sure. I don't know of any in Girdwood, so I'm not sure how impactful it will be for you guys. But just to kind of frame this, this has been common practice for the folks who operate these facilities over the years to sell hay to each other and other farm-related goods. So this is not intended to be a new use, but to clean up some ambiguity in code to make it explicit that this is a permissible activity. There's also an ordinance co-sponsored, not by me, but would create a veteran-owned business preference for certain municipal contracts for when people offer bids for muni contracts, it would create a favorable scoring criteria. So for hypothetically, if the contract was for $100,000, it would be evaluated as if it was for $95,000. So it gives a slight edge to the veteran-owned businesses that qualify when they bid for these. The ultimate amount that's awarded in the contract would be what was submitted with the bid. There's also two ordinances moving together that would rezone parkland, a significant amount of land to parkland for areas of the municipality that have basically functioned like parks for a number of years. Some of them have not had the appropriate zoning. So this is really just a cleanup effort to make the zoning reflect what the use has been, but it would affect over 9,000 acres. So it is significant on paper. And those are all I had to mention, but as always, happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much for that. Do we have any questions from the board? All right, and online or in the room? Thank you, Zach. Very much appreciated. All right, we do have an unexpected surprise guest in the room today who I'd like to refer to now, and we'd be so delighted to hear anything you have to tell us. Our mayor, Suzanne LaFrance, thank you for being here with your amazing team. You are welcome to, I think if you move to one of these, this chair right here, that'll put you right in front of the mic. Is that good, Kyle? Right there. Okay.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Is it okay if I put my stuff here? Well, hello, everyone. It is great to be back here with all of you. And welcome, congratulations to Nick and Amanda on joining GBOS, and Mike and Brianna, thanks for your service. It was great working with you. And I appreciated that time when I was on the assembly to work with you both. So thank you so much. I've got a few things to share with all of you, and recognizing that some of this is more pertaining to the bowl, but that many of you work and shop and do business in Anchorage. And so providing a few of those updates. So starting first, actually, let me stop for a moment too, and just for those of you who haven't met the members of my team who are here tonight, I'll just stand out of the way. Got Becky Wint-Pearson, our municipal manager, Bob Dole, who's the director of economic development, and then Suzanne Fleet-Green, chief of staff. And yeah, we are all happy to be here with you. So first off, the port. last month, we kicked off the demolition and reconstruction of Terminal 1, which if you are downtown and in West Anchorage, you will soon be able to feel it and hear it. And this is a really, nitty-gritty part of the Port of Alaska modernization program and really important for all of Alaska. And I want to thank Municipal Manager Wint Pearson for all her tremendous work there. A few public safety related updates, recognizing you have your own fire department and police through Whittier here. We are having full academies with APD and just graduated 20 new ones. The fire department also graduated 19. And then our health department vacancy rate is at about 5%. It was at 50%. And so this translates to less wait time for restaurant inspections, more access to public health, and prompt child care licensing. Prosecution misdemeanors convictions are up 71% from 2024. And then we're very focused on ensuring that public spaces are safe and accessible for everyone, and brought new ordinances to curb illegal camping and illegal fires. And this year we brought a new ordinance to change Title 8 to address threatening and menacing behavior, intoxication, and indecent exposure in public spaces as well. There's a dashboard on APD's site if you want to look at those numbers. Retail theft has been a big concern. Launched a retail theft detail in late September, and we're working closely with business owners. There have been 250 arrests or warrants, seizure of drugs, firearms, vehicles, prosecution of 223 cases, and it represents about $151,000 in losses. Also want to mention too, homelessness. We know a national issue, and after the pandemic, our community experienced a 300% increase in the number of individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness. We are expecting that number to go down when the figures for the annual point in time count that the Coalition to End Homelessness does every year. I do want to note and give you a heads up that the Girdwood point in time count by zip code, it will show an increase because last year there wasn't a count in 2025, so 0 was recorded. And this year there were 22 individuals recorded for this zip code. So just a little bit of context there. But we don't have any more large encampments in the Muni. We've got year-round shelter. The Muni has 300 beds. We're working with many partners, increasing the capacity of the mobile crisis team to reach out to people in crisis before situations escalate. We're trying new things like the Willow Commons project, the micro units for recovery residences, and that's on Muni land near the Permit Center off of Tudor. It's a closed campus, so people who are coming out of homelessness wanting to go into treatment have stability and a door that locks. It's funded with opioid settlement money operated by a community behavioral health provider. Also, very excited that Providence and South Central Foundation will be opening new behavioral health facilities, and they're going to be adding more than 100 new beds for crisis stabilization, and that will be, for everybody. Okay, just a quick note, 10,000 homes in 10 years is our initiative to remove roadblocks and do whatever we can to facilitate more housing Muni-wide. And I know you've got an item on the agenda tonight to allow more flexibility for smaller forms of housing and relocatable dwelling units. And, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the proposal. This is something that's already been implemented in the bowl under Title 21. And so, really want to hear your thoughts on the proposed changes. A couple other things, more cruise ships this year, 2 more, they're bigger. Lots of activity going to be going on at the J-Bear installation as far as recapitalization. The annual comprehensive financial report back in 2024, the Muni was very behind. This is the big audit, and we expect to be caught up this month. Not having the being caught up with the audit or being behind impacts our bond debt rating, our ability to profit from tax anticipation notes, it strands fund balance. And so about Q1 revisions that were just done. And it just takes a set amount of time once you get behind to get caught up. So being caught up is really important. It was explained to me by Bill Falsey, the chief administrative officer, that it's like a gestational period. Once get behind, you have to go through these steps along a certain timeline. And so it is a really big deal that we are about to be caught up. A couple other quick notes. It was great to be at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center grand opening of the Matson Ocean Education Center. I know, Mike, you were there. You were there too, Brianna. Yes, that's right. And that classroom style facility will connect visitors, students, researchers to hands-on education and efforts focused on especially conserving, protecting the Cook Inlet belugas, which I have to say, I didn't realize the degree to which they are endangered and not recovering. But anyway, excited to see that facility opening here. And then I'll just conclude with a note about legislative efforts. My whole team has, and myself included, have been having a lot of contact with legislators around education funding. And I signed a letter with 23 other mayors with the intent of trying to get as much money as possible for our schools. The operating budget right now contains $144 million in one-time education funding, and that will help. There's an issue, of course, with the local contribution. I just did an op-ed with Grier Hopkins, the mayor of the Fairbanks North Star Borough, and we talked about in that op-ed how the state's funding formula shifts cost onto local property taxpayers in a way that's no longer sustainable. And so as property values rise, the state allocates less money to local school districts. And so that shifts the cost, the burden onto local taxpayers through the required local contribution piece. And so this is going to be very impactful if there aren't any changes. Next year, for example, we are looking at an $11.2 million increase in our required local contribution here at the municipality. And that will mean, because of the tax cap and how it's limited, we will have to cut that much in services in order to pay that mandatory piece. So very interested in Senate Bill 278, which was brought forward by Senator Jesse Bjorkman, and it caps the annual required local contribution increase. It's actually rolled into House Bill 261, Andy Story's bill. Very interested in that being approved because, again, each year we're going to be looking at more and more upward pressure on our community. This year, we put to the voters, and the Assembly approved putting a levy to all the voters for 11 million, right? 11 or so million. That would be part of would have been our voluntary contribution. First, we have the required portion that communities have to pay, and then the state law allows us to do extra. And in the past, we've been able to do that under the cap. We could have done it this year if the voters had approved a levy to do that. So just a real big heads up that, you've all seen, I'm sure, the coverage about the impacts to our school district, but it's going to get tougher and tougher with the way that it's structured. And so we will continue to work very closely with legislators and advocate. I truly believe that quality schools are what keeps and attracts families, people here to make the municipality of Anchorage their home. And so this is something, we know too, like the installation relies on, with the families who come here, having good, strong school districts, and the uncertainty definitely makes us not as attractive for a lot of folks. So this is a very important top of mind issue. And I'll just say thank you all so much. for the opportunity to be here with you. I think that Suzanne, you brought some handouts too
They're on the back table.
in the back table. You want to mention real quick what those handouts are?
They're both public safety related. One is on Title VIII, the code changes, and then some other is general.
All right, thank you so much. And then, yes, have the full, quite full team, but a big chunk of the team here, so you can ask the really tough questions.
So you can take the questions?
Oh, yes, yes.
Just
Happy to take
questions in case we have any. Do
Absolutely.
we have any questions for the board? Yes, Brian.
Mayor LaFrance, thank you so much for being here with your team this evening. Public access to open space in the Anchorage Bowl and around Anchorage continues to be a challenge over time. And the latest challenge comes from a approximately 7-mile long fence that's going along parkland in Anchorage and is going to have an impact on how people access open space and how wildlife moves around Anchorage. Will your team and the assembly be liaisoning with the feds, with the J-Bear the J-Bear crew that is putting it together and work to help mitigate the issues with that?
Sorry. Yes, we are in contact too with the team at the installation. And this public process right now, 30-day public process, part of the environmental impact study or statement, I get that right? And I know that the Assembly has done a resolution, approved that at their last meeting. And what can I do? Which one of you would like to add more about, is that you, Suzanne? About what we can share at this point?
Okay. And Zach, definitely, if you want to jump in here, I think a couple of key things. This is an environmental assessment on a proposal that they are required to do under the National Environmental Policy Act, directed by Pentagon to do it. And it is an overall look at how to improve security for the installation. I think they're more concerned on the base side of things than on the mountain side of things. Just so very concerned about encroachment right now on the J-Bear proper, and especially with new technology, what that encroachment can look like. So it's a number of security improvements, but they have assured us that this is a proposal that they are doing the environmental analysis on. That does not mean that they are going to construct, but they have to do this environmental analysis before they could even start budgeting for such a thing.
And Member Johnson, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I think they covered it pretty well. Yeah, I just put my hands up to make sure that we highlighted the fact that the Assembly did adopt a resolution raising some of these concerns and asking for more consideration before the fence is put in place. But I think the mayor's team covered it pretty well.
And I do. One last thing that really should be underscored is that they recognize the huge recreational benefit, allowing the public onto J-Bear lands when appropriate, when trainings are not being conducted. So the point of the fence is not to limit recreational access, is that you still would be able to do that. But when they are doing trainings that require a great deal of security, but also frankly, public safety, that they want to be able to control access at those points in time.
Right, do we have any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I had a question regarding I think a lot of people are going to have questions about the 22, the number of homeless folks who are counted here. Do you have any insight into what the methodology behind that? Because 22 could be counted in a lot of different ways. Is that was on one day, on the day that someone walked around and found those people? Feel free to punt to and tell me to go search for that too if you don't have an answer right now.
I actually might have a little bit of an answer for that.
Different
I believe that point of time is done in February, is that correct? And we had a point of time survey done 3 years ago that had 50 something on it. And so I believe that we're down a bit, but it's very flexible. And then were you wondering in particular, they are, I'll pass it to you guys to, if you have insight about the, I have what I think is the way they're counting, but I really shouldn't be answering this. You go.
Hi, Bob Dole, Director for Community Economic Development. The point in time count, as you note, is a given day, and they do it all on the same day to try to avoid counting people twice or in different locations. It's led by the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness in this area. So they're the entity that actually does it and compiles the numbers. And once they do it in February, there's a lot of correlation to make sure they didn't count people twice or they didn't have other gaps there. And they will explain their definitions when those numbers come out as they used them this year. But ACEH leads it, and it's designed to be encompassing and minimize the errors.
Thank you.
Do you have any follow-up on that? Okay,
That's good.
all right, do we have any questions from online or in the room? Well, thank you so much for coming down. It's a lot of firepower here in the room, so we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, I didn't see a member of the school board, but am I missing something? I don't think from the school board.
No, I think there's-
Rachel, yep,
Oh, I missed it. I'm very sorry.
somebody new.
All right, Rachel.
Hi,
your-
everyone. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's great to be with you all for my first meeting here. I'm your assigned new school board member. I was just sworn in about 2 weeks ago, so I'm fresh onto the Anchorage School Board. And my name is Rachel Blakesley. For those of you who don't know, I spend a lot of time in Girdwood though, so I appreciate a lot of the work that you're doing here. So thanks for the opportunity. And also, I want to echo previous comments of just the gratitude to both Mike and Brianna for all of their service on this body and in the community. I have the privilege of getting to work with them in other capacities sometimes. And yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the efforts that they've invested into public service. So for updates around the school board and the school district, first, for those of you who may or may not be tracking, there is a current legal case that's been brought towards the district from a nonprofit group that was formed around the closure of Campbell STEM Elementary School. That court case ended up producing a temporary restraining order or injunction that a judge issued to ordering the school district to pause any current activities that are taking place around the closure of the school, so moving staff out, etc. The school district ended up appealing that decision, and that temporary injunction has now been lifted. The judge has now lifted the injunction, so the school district is proceeding with all of the preparations around closure of the school, but the court case is still open. School board members are not privy to the conversations that are happening between attorneys and both parties. We're just sort of informed of the updates as they happen. So that's basically all the information that I have right now, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. Also, recently, we as a school board came together for a special meeting and passed a resolution around what we would be able to restore should the legislature invest in much needed recurring funding, an increase to the BSA of $920 as a recurring increase, recurring funding. That resolution was really to communicate the depth of the deficit that we face year after year and how it will continue to grow until the legislature is able to provide stable and adequate funding for districts across the state. And that particular resolution was also specifically designed to show what it would take to not only restore all of the massive cuts that the district has made, especially for next year, they're really bad, but also what it would take to essentially put the district on a path towards completely eliminating the structural deficit that the district faces as soon as FY28 or FY29. Obviously, what we're seeing right now in the legislature is that is not what is being passed. We're really, and I think that was sort of anticipated. We're looking at one-time funding. Again, potentially, we don't know if it will survive a potential veto and if we'll have the votes necessary to override any potential vetoes. But thus far, what has come to fruition is the conference committee has now adopted their budget, their operating budget that includes $29 million in one-time funding to alleviate fuel costs, increase in energy and fuel costs for districts across the state, that then frees up funding that the district was allocating for fuel and energy that then they could apply towards general operating costs. And it also includes $115 million for general education funding. So that's comprehensive across the entire state. What that would likely manifest for ASD in particular would be around $37 million in one-time funding if that survives the governor's pen. And then there are additional bills that are still moving through both chambers very quickly. We only have 2 days left of session, but some of those additional bills also include components that could provide additional one-time funding on top of what has currently passed out of conference committee. And again, we don't know what the finality of those bills might be, even if they do pass. But because now we're starting to see things come out of session and session's about to end, we will be having a finance committee meeting next week on May 28th. I believe that's on a Thursday. Yes. I'm the chair of the finance committee. We're holding a meeting next week to talk about whatever the legislative update is at that time, because session will be over at that time and we'll have more of a definite understanding of what resources we have to contend with at that time. And then we'll begin discussions about how we might be able to allocate that funding in this one-time funding scenario. So that will be a broader discussion among the board, but it will begin in the finance committee. There is a board meeting, a school board meeting tomorrow. Public testimony is welcome on any subject that anyone has an interest or passion to talk about. And those are the big updates that I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions from the board or online or in the room? Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think we have Tim Sharnan or any HLBAC. So moving on to supervisor reports, and I'm going to take it in the order of the table. So I'm going to start with you, Kelly, if you have anything to report.
I don't have any PSAC related, but I did attend GHAC. I can just share that there was a healthy discussion both on number 13 on old business or new business, but also just the housing study RFP not to exceed $100,000. So that's still RFP still underway. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Yep. And so the conversation was that it will be supported by the new data coming in from the STR regulation. And really it's looking at cost and doability of the ideas. And will give us a lot of framing for what's actually possible as we engage with the HLB and the municipality on where we're going forward with everything.
Right, excellent. Brian.
Nothing for me at this time.
Oh, you Amanda. Well, you don't actually have a supervisor.
Can I just do HLB?
Sure, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I just would like to give a quick little update in the lieu of Tim not being present. Our last HLB meeting was actually incredibly successful in the aspect that the water department showed up at the watershed department showed up at the HLB meeting. As you all know, I've been extremely active in trying to get this to occur for almost 4 years now, and they showed up talking about the opportunity for Girdwood to get a watershed management plan. However, it doesn't sound like this next go around it's really in our play as a watershed management plan, but that's okay. What they were encouraging, and they want us to come and sit down and meet with them. It was very encouraging, and both Tim and I are very excited about what came out of it, and we look forward to taking some action items forward.
Do you have anything you want to say yet? Okay, all right. All right, just briefly on land use, there has been a request for comments on a preliminary plat subdivision that's at 1231 Timberline Drive. And that decision date is Monday, June 22nd. Comments have to reach the planning and zoning by Friday, June 12th. You can contact me or look online for more information. Also, we had a question through LUC, which I don't know if anyone from the community can answer, but there was a public comment brought up about a difference between property evaluations used as comps versus what people are being assessed for. So in other words, a property owner noticed that that his property was being assessed at a certain rate with comps, that, you know, this property X is valued here. But when he looks at the muni assessment, property X is being assessed here. And so he feels that there's a mathematical inconsistency with properties being valued more as comps than as the way they're. And I don't know if that's something anybody can ask for the city, but of course, as I'm sure you've heard, there were big changes in Girdwood tax assessments. And so that drew some attention at land use.
I think that we would really need Mr. Falsey as Chief Administrative Officer to give you the full nuance of this, but I think that the short answer is that the methodology used by the assessor's office is set by a different standard than real estate comps are, and so frequently like reveals disparate, you know, what you might think of as a comparable property may or may not be in the methodology that the assessor's office uses. But we certainly could get a more complex and fulsome answer back to you if you want to know the nuances of what that looks like. I can follow up.
Okay, thank you. That was new for me, so I know we haven't had a chance to talk about that. So anyway, thank you. All right, I don't know if we have anybody online for committee reports.
See anybody?
All right, and anybody online or in the room who would fall under committee reports, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to our standing reports. I don't know if we have any changes to report on proposed Girdwood developments or any of the other things listed, but staff, please correct me.
No, we don't. If somebody's looking to take over this list, we're looking for somebody to maybe take care of it.
I was looking at this list today and I might be able to do some editing. So take a look at that. We do actually have a little bit of movement happening on the Girdwood Industrial Park, but that gets covered later on, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll do that. All right. Service provider reports. I did see Chief Weston online, I believe. She's still online.
Yep. Hi there. I've got a whole bunch of good news to report, leading with the Chugach Electric Association is going to donate another wildfire chipping day to us, and that will be on June 6th. And so you can see the flyer there. So we're super excited about that. Our call volume, April is usually one of our quietest months. We did have 23 calls. We had a huge save on a multifamily structure fire that was in an area of Girdwood up a steep road with a steep driveway, a threeplex against the forest, working fire in one of the units, and we were able to contain it to the one unit. So super proud, and this is a non-hydrogen area. Super proud of the crew and the work they did. That was a hugely good save for us. So super proud about that. We did have 2 MVAs, 12 EMS calls, 4 fire, CO alarms, and then 3 gas leaks. Plus we had 1 aircraft good intent. So quiet month for us being 23 calls. But usually June will pick up and May is already picking up. We're still waiting to hear if we got the rural health grant for ambulance staffing. We have a core staffing right now of 4 firefighters on duty at any time, and then augmenting that with paid on call. We're still trying to increase our numbers to reach NFPA standards. So there's that. We have 6 firefighters finishing up their interior firefighting, firefighter 1 training. We did a command training with AFD, and you might have seen the crew out there. Everyone, all the firefighters, all 38 of us are recerting for our red card this year. So that's a big increase. So that's basically half the department that wasn't certed is now certifying. And you might have seen the crew out there. There was 21 people out there last Saturday in the horizontals rain running, trying to do their arduous test and pass, which was wonderful. The EOC and Red Cross are coming down Tuesday as we're looking at potential sheltering locations. And we've got a sheltering exercise scheduled, practical exercise and some training with the Red Cross scheduled throughout the summer and fall. And then during the municipality's earthquake exercise in fall, we will be exercising, actually practically putting out the shelter components, actually standing one up in Girdwood for that earthquake exercise. So that's really great, or I should say I'm saying that as the general we, because it'll be somebody other than fire setting up the sheltering, but working with the Red Cross. And then also the long-standing tsunami siren, signs have been trying to get in. EOC is working on that, and we should see those soon. And they were able to find funding to put those in. So that's my good news report. Any questions for me?
Any questions from the board? Or online or in the room? Thank you so much, Michelle. 2 questions, sorry.
No, that's all good. Thanks.
All right, I think I saw Chief O'Shea online as well. Is that correct?
Correct. Giving for April 2026, Girdwood had approximately 235 calls for service. Majority of those calls were security checks, 127 security checks. We also increased our traffic enforcement there with 36 additional traffic stops, which resulted in roughly 5 citations in the Girdwood area. A lot of the activities for April stemmed around the Slush Cup events, which with PD as well as Anchorage Police Department were present in those areas during the Slush Cup. Other than that, we have beginning of this month, one new recruit officer was sent to the Fairbanks Law Enforcement Academy. He started beginning of the month. We anticipate him graduating in August, and which will lead us down to 1 vacancy at this time. Additionally, 2 of our personnel, Lieutenant Herod and Officer Sampson, also went to Fairbanks for LEADA training, which is a FBI-sponsored leadership first-line supervisor training up in Fairbanks for 1 week, both of which have completed that training successfully. And there's additional training that goes with the LEADA training that we anticipate sending both officers to in the future. Other than that, Whittier Police participated last Thursday with the graduation parade by conducting traffic control for the 2026 graduates in Girdwood. If you guys have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? All right, online or in the room? Any questions? Thank you so much for the, oops, yes.
If we could scroll back up on the fire subject, please, really quick, so we could just cover the WWCAT. I gave a brief update at land use. I'm Brianna, I'm the WWCAT Wildland Urban Interface Community Action Team representative for Girdwood, and the meeting was already 3 weeks ago, but all of these links are fantastic. Firewise.muni.org has them all. I would encourage the community to sign up for Smart 911. And right now, the newest information and update is on the requesting a Firewise home assessment page. And previously at land use, the question was, is there any chipping updates? But now that Chugach Electric is going to come to Girdwood and do that, we can just do that first. And you can still sign up at their chipping website too.
But the chipping up program update is that they're at the mercy of the MOA purchasing right now, which I know you've heard at other meetings. So they submitted their request for proposals and are entering a holding period. So when that window closes, they'll have proposals for review. So no update, but it'll hopefully happen this season for the chipping there. And Firewise Alaska Awareness was last week. So I know we have that weather, but other parts of the bowl were not. So that's what I have. Any questions? The website's a great resource. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you for
Margaret.
your continued work for the community there, and particularly on fire issues. Much appreciated. Right. Roads.
Sure. But with roads, and I'll go to parks after that. So we have left winter and we're starting to finally feel like it's spring. Even though we wake up in the morning, it's still 38 degrees. We're getting there. And so we were able to get through and do all sweepings and get everything cleaned up with the spring cleanup. And we started initial grading on spring grading of roads and asphalt repair. And then we've been out doing some repairs related to the icing this year. With breakup, we had frozen drains, and that caused for erosion in certain areas. And so we've been making those repairs. And then we discovered we had a collapsed culvert up on Vale. We tried to start digging on that last week and quickly ran into ice. Ice is only about a foot down. And we're really concerned about digging around utilities like gas and pulling up dirt. And so at this point, we're holding off. And luckily that drainage is somewhat working, but we'll have to make that repair when it gets better. We have a whole list for this season of work we want to do. We were hoping to do a bunch before we did spring grading and calcium, but it looks like the way this breakup is going and how slow it's been, we're going to be probably right into calcium because we're concerned more about the dusty roads, and then we'll have to go back over those repair areas and do those. So we're getting going with that. Same time, we're also contending with the fact that we only have about 60 days left on the extended contract with Western. We had to extend the contract as we're working out some issues with purchasing about the next contract. Both Eagle River and us are working on this to have a better contract that we put out for bid. That covers Davis-Bacon work and non-Davis-Bacon work, and we're hopefully almost through that, and then we'll be able to go out to bid. So it most likely is that we'll have a new contractor come into place midsummer, which means we'll do as much work as we can with this contract right now, and then we'll see who wins the next contract and then start that process sometime midsummer. So we're contending with that right now. So a couple of things going on there as we move into the summer season where it goes. So we'll probably do work up front, and then we may have to do a transfer if we have a new contractor come on board for the next period. So those are two things that we're working through right now on the road side. But for the most part, I was happy with the spring breakup. With it being a cool spring breakup, things didn't rush, and we were able to deal with the ice. And I'll officially say last week was the last week of steam thawing. We did 2 culverts and then we're done. So, and I'll give you those numbers later on as to what that cost us last year. Major projects. The Ruan Fish Culvert project, we have a complete RFP, a request for proposal completed. We have it at purchasing. It's been there about 7 weeks. And we got told today that it should move forward at some point. It sounds like purchasing is very busy right now with the projects for the port. And as soon as they can get through that, they'll get this RFP out for us. But that's where it's standing. We've asked the EPA for additional period to complete the project. They wanted us to be done by June next year. That won't be possible, but we're hoping they'll give us till the end of next year to finish it. We should be able to get design done this year, in this calendar year. We've already completed the survey and done all that. And we already pretty much have a concept about what we want there. We're just gonna have to work out the details with the sewer pipe that's in that location. Once we get an RFP out, get a design firm on board, we should be able to knock that out pretty quick and get that out to bid, hopefully beginning of next winter, and have a contractor on board get it done. The Winter Creek Bridge to replace the hand tram. I'm happy to report we got a purchasing order today, and we are ready to move forward. So So let's go build a bridge. And so Spurnack will be our contractor on that. And it's tentatively looking like they're going to get started at the end of summer with groundwork out there. Since this is an all steel bridge, what they do is they ship up all the materials and we assemble the bridge off site, the contractor does. And then if everything looks good, they have to ship it back down to all be galvanized. So there's nobody here in Alaska galvanizes at this sort of things. So we have to do it in 2 steps. So it does add to it. And as you can guess, we're going to probably be struggling with the way the fuel costs right now are. So we're just going to have to work that out as we move forward. But they're on board to do it. And they feel they can get all pretty much the groundwork done this year. And then next year assemble the bridge, which will be a 2-step process. So that is where we're at this point. And we should be moving forward on that any day now with getting a schedule together and kicking that project off. And as I just mentioned, the road contract, we're looking to work that through and get that in place here over the summer. So we'll keep you aware of that as we move forward on that. Over to Parks and Rec. It is bear season and it's already been a very active spring. And we're really stressing to the residents to be aware of how you store your garbage and take care of it. We're already seeing an active bear that's particularly working within the downtown area and over to the other side of Glacier Creek in that area. And they've had some encounters where they've gotten into trash. We responded last Tuesday to an incident by the school, and then there's another one across. We do really thank Bear Aware, the nonprofit organization here that takes on the responsibility of educating people and responding to incidents, and Parks and Rec does work with them in that aspect. As you may have heard, we also had a bear kill on the Beaver Pond Trail last week, last Thursday. We got a call about it. We closed the trail immediately and talked to AF&G, and they recommended we keep the trail closed for 2 weeks. The next day, myself and Whittier Police went out and saw it and identified where the bear kill was. And it was very active, and we could tell it was a brown bear. It had been there active the night before and tried to rebury it, but it's right in the middle of the trail. So that trail is closed at least until 2 weeks, probably next Thursday, a week from this Thursday. And then we'll do an analysis again to see what it looks like out there. But I'll tell you, 3 men walking out to the woods saying, "Hey, bear," was the loudest I've ever heard. So it always amazes me what this job brings sometimes, but it was a good thing. So we're just telling people, stay away from that trail, let nature work out there, and it'll take care of itself in the long run. So we have a lot of spring projects going on, and make sure to say hi to John and Luke, our returning park caretakers. They're out there every day working on projects, and we have a very long list of things that we're going through. So they'll be out there working on different things. Right now, we're trying to get the campground open for this weekend to kick off Memorial Day, and we have a large disc golf tournament coming in as well. So we'd like to get it open so disc golfers have a place to stay. We have new caretakers in the park. Over there, Matt and Ariel, and they have a beautiful little 1-year-old who's in there too. So they're going to be our campground hosts for the summer out there, and they have a dog named Nico, and they're over there. So you get a chance to meet them in there. And then all the facilities up and running, parks, the playground. We have a lot of projects in there. We have wood chips coming in, and we'll be replacing those here shortly as well. And then through the skate park and tennis courts, and then Lions Club Park. The pavilion should be going up starting this week. The foundation gets started, and then the pavilion will go up after that. And Spurnack & Son is the contractor on that. So they're going to get to know us really well down here because they have that project as well. So in that area. Thank you to Margaret. She keeps our social media and website up to date, and it's become very handy, especially getting the word out about the recent bear kill. And so always make sure to share and like it as you're paying attention to our posts there. Financially, let's see, sorry, our report is in the packet. As for the budgets, I have been separating out in the road budget the costs we've had for a special contractor for steam thawing. So we ran 2 contractors, one Western, our standard contractor, and then we brought in Northern Gravel to help us with the steam thawing this year because it was just so intense. I would say it's very much well money spent. It saved us from a lot of issues that could have come up if we didn't tackle it. And I heard from the Hillside Lursas that didn't stay on top of it. They had a lot of issues once spring melt came. So by us investing in this, even though it's us throwing hot water on ice, and it doesn't really do anything for a long-term effect. It did pay off in the long run when spring melt came. So, and I know a lot of residents felt that too, because they had ice around their houses as well. So, but it did cost us quite a bit of money, and we did kind of make that up with first quarter revisions. But this is where we kind of stand at this point with our budget for this year. We're right on pace where we need to be with all our different budgets for roads, parks, and fire and police. So I'm not too worried about it, but we just spent more than we should have. But we didn't do as much snow removal as well. So it kind of balances itself out in that way where we're at. And the Housing Economic Fund is at 100,000, and that is at this point dedicated for the RFP for the housing study. But that's why it shows nothing spent. And the Parks and Rec is just getting going on the different projects that we do in the summer. But we have paid out all the nonprofit grants for this year. So I'll take any questions.
Do you have any questions from the board?
I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, what day did you say sorry, circling back to the Rand fish culvert.
Yeah.
You said the EPA, when were we supposed to have it installed by?
The EPA, the way that grant worked was it was supposed to be finished by the end of July 27. But we asked for extension in our first reporting period to them. And they didn't seem to have too much of an issue with that. We just have to go through formality with them to make that happen.
And just to clarify, do we need the extension due to design process or due to funding?
Mostly to the delays with getting the design process in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one other question that I have for you is that you said that you have got a list of projects for us for this summer for that you've got your little hit list. Vale is one. I'm just curious. This came up a couple of times in conversation the last couple of days. What are the other high priorities for this summer for you?
Oh, I have it broken down by sections. So
I'm just talking big projects, I guess, just top 3, 4, 5 projects.
Oh, top 3, 4, 5 projects. Well, we do definitely have 2 culverts on the mine roads that have heaved and been exposed and damaged. And those are cross culverts as well. We have several things that showed its head during steaming that need to be replaced, like on the intersection of Mount Hood and Lake Tahoe. 2 of those culverts are full of gravel, so those need to be tackled. On Timberline side, we just have we have the Vale project. We have a cross culvert up on St. Johann. We have like 4 driveway culverts on St. Johann that heave because of the weather. We have one over in Stowe. So we have a lot of just general maintenance. Nothing large this year. Last year we did 2 large fish culverts, which took up a good portion of our budget. And then we had general maintenance, and then we have quite a bit of ditching that just needs to be happening, which we kind of have fallen behind of because we focused on these larger capital projects. So, but I can show you, I have a breakdown of every region, and then I prioritize them as to what the between 1 to 3 as to what is the necessary ones to me to get done. And then we try to flex it out with what budget we have available.
I would love to see that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Board, yes.
I haven't been here for a while back, an issue where purchasing was asking to approve like all your projects. Did you get that figured out? I thought the mayor's team is here.
We are working through that right now. That's what we're trying to sort out.
It's a big roadblock for Todd. If they've got to approve all these little road projects.
We're aware of it for sure.
So.
Yeah, we've met several times on it.
Yeah.
We're
Getting through it. I think we're getting closer than ever.
So that expenditure list, I just wanted to point out that it wasn't just a big expenditure of money. It was also extraordinary expenditure of time, and particularly staff time. Kyle, I think, was almost 24/7 for a while there and spent the holidays not on a holiday. To put it mildly, I think that you've done extraordinary work this winter, and so please, anyone seeing him around the community or any members of our road team, please say thank you, because it was heroic, absolutely heroic. And as you said, it has paid off for this community and the problems that we're not having now, but sometimes it's easy not to notice the problems you're not having. So thank you for heading those off. I did want to see if you could scroll down to the bottom of this report in the section about meetings. And I wanted to cover with this new board a little bit of prioritizing. On the first one, the GBOS LUC joint meeting with DOT. I've had some talks with this. I don't know if that's going to warrant a full DOT meeting, but what I would like to put out there to the board, unless anybody disagrees, is to have whoever is set up as our PSAC person to coordinate with PSAC and DOT and see if there's, because I think what we have is a little bit of a difference between what an outgoing retiring person said and what DOT report said about that speed limit issue. So before we schedule a meeting about this, we need more information. The parliamentary training, I was talking with Nick about this, and originally I wanted it right away. I wanted us all to get on the same page and all this, but Nick mentioned the possibility of having kids from the school also being involved in that. Is that right?
And my neighbor Lauren at the school, I mentioned that to her and she sounded interested.
So what I wanted to do is run past the board. If we were to do that, it doesn't work very well to do that until school starts again. So I just want to check with the board. Would you prefer to do, when we did parliamentary training before, we opened it up and we, interestingly enough, got a lot of people from Anchorage or Anchorage organizations that couldn't afford this on their own. So we actually more than half of the room ended up being Anchorage, but we had a full room of people getting parliamentary training. I was a little flabbergasted, but I'm also excited about the possibility of having school kids. So I just wanted to get a feeling of the body of when you guys roughly would like that meeting to be. Like, let's go with summer or fall. Any ideas?
I'm completely strapped for the summer.
Okay.
So definitely the fall definitely does feel a bit better. However, I understand the concern for having it earlier and understand if it needs to be.
Okay. Anybody?
I would be interested in scheduling it in the fall also. We've got plenty of outdoor projects in the summertime to do, and so.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take that as the general role of the body, and since then combining that with your idea to incorporate the school, which I really liked, at least opening it up as a possibility. Similarly on GBOS special meetings on rules and procedures, unless people disagree, I think given the pressure of the summer, I would like to put that on a potential on the fall. Meeting to establish chairs and areas of responsibility. We're about to do that work session, projects and budgets in review. That needs to happen before our budget conversations, and our budget conversations have to happen in the summer. So that item and the following item, which is 2 meetings at least, and sometimes possibly a third, those cannot be put off. The first one will need to be probably in the next month or so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steph. And then the budget sessions, we typically have at least one in July, and sometimes if we can do 2 in July or 1 in July, 1 in August. Because everything has to be submitted to the city, voted on and submitted to the city by October. All right. So in other words, you have to make a little space for that. We can't move them. I'm sorry. So for those of you who are new to the board, brace yourselves. Okay. And then finally, the work session regarding capital project leaseback options. That is something I believe we're still working with the city on and can wait for now.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just felt like I needed to warn you guys. All right, real quickly, the announcements for the library are in the packet, but what's happening on Wednesdays is so spectacular that I would take a look at it. It's easy for things to get buried in the packet. We have a public assistance resource fair. We have stuntology that promises to explanations fly along with objects. The puppet theater, there's a housing community resource fair on the 24th with representatives from community resource agencies, Cookwood Club, button making thing, Bird TLC. But I have to admit, what really jumped out at me was the meet and greet with goats on the 17th. So I saw some of these goats on Easter and they're adorable. So anyway, you've got a thing for goats, don't you? All right.
I'd like to give a shout out to the library programs because they're really cool.
The library is doing some amazing stuff right now.
Valentine's here.
It's Clear Wednesdays, man, I'm telling you. All right. Public comment. Persons offering public comment must state their full name and address. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person and must be on subjects not listed on the agenda. Do we have anyone in the room or online here for public comment? I don't see a name that.
Let me see. Sorry. Oh, it's Mitch Roth.
It's sorry.
Mitch Roth.
Oh, Mitch, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. Mitch Roth, I'm at 139 Stowe Drive. I just wanted to briefly remind everybody about the Chugach election, Board of Directors election, and it's going on now. There's 2 weeks left to vote, and the election runs until April 29th, or sorry, until May 29th. And the easiest way to vote is by an email that Chugach has been sending out every week for the last 3 weeks. And if a person doesn't have access to a computer to do the online voting, you can request a mail ballot. They have weekly prize drawings for voting, and the grand prize is a year of electricity up to 10,000 kilowatts. And the other aspect of the election is that the results will be announced at the annual meeting, which is on May 29th. So it's a week from next Friday. So we have 2 weeks left to vote. And that's in connection with the member appreciation event. And there's the member appreciation event starts at 1 o'clock on Friday, May 29th. And during this member appreciation part, there's power plant tours and information booths and food and bucket rides. And there's an electric vehicle car show that runs from 1 to 4. And then at 4 p.m. is when the annual meeting actually gets underway. And that's when the election results will be announced. And I did email a flyer in for people that, I don't know if it's possible to post it there. I think I posted one at the post office. But if you need more information about any of this, the Chugach website is chugachelectric.com. And it's right on the front page there for the annual meeting and election. And if you specifically need help with finding your ballot or with voting or getting a paper ballot, there's a phone number you can call, which that number is 866-909-3549. So I just encourage everybody to vote, and I was glad to hear Chugach is coming back with their chipper operation, and these are the people we're voting for are the ones who set the policies to keep Chugach moving in the direction that we want it to go. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Do you have anybody else here for public comment? Moving on to old business. We have some new members. Welcome to Nick Cruz and Amanda Tello. I wasn't sure whether to welcome you earlier on or right now, which is, this is maybe the jumping right into the fray here is the assignment of task. What I'd like to do is start with the assignment of roles. Now, according to our bylaws, this is done by seniority. We don't absolutely have to do it that way, but we need to follow our bylaws. Me personally, I am open to, if someone wants to challenge my selection, I'm okay with it. Okay. I believe I'm the most senior now, and I am interested in continuing on land use, but if someone else is interested in that, we can certainly chat. And I believe that the next most senior is Brian. And Brian, do you have a preference?
I would appreciate being able to continue to recreate with Parks and Recreation. But in following your lead also, if someone else is chomping at the bit to be involved with Parks and Recreation, I would jump into any of the other roles that are open, but I would prefer to remain at Parks and Rec.
All right, thank you. And next in series is Kelly.
I'd like to support GHGC.
Okay.
Girdwood Housing and Economic, Girdwood Housing and Economic.
All right, so you're on equal footing, so it's not whoever I ask first, okay? You're both allowed to state your preference, and I'll just start here since I'm working my way down the table here. So Amanda.
I was actually looking to take over the public safety committee. It's non-existent. We need leadership, and I'm great at building things. And I think that my expertise and knowledge will fit well in there.
All right, so on this list, we have police, but typically police falls under public safety, right? And then in the past, we have combined that with roads and utilities. We don't have to do that. And then that would, if we did that, that then leaves fire department. Are you okay with combining public safety? Or if I'm not assigning anything yet, would you be okay with that pairing again?
Absolutely.
Okay. And did you have a preference for the committee you're interested in?
I'll be assigned.
It's lovely of you, because how do you feel about fire department?
I love fire department.
All right. I think then let me check with staff. Do we need a vote to approve that?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve those supervisory roles as assigned, as chosen.
Do I have to name it or can I just motion?
I think you can move to.
Okay, I move for what we just said. Which is GHGC, trails, PSAC and police, LUC and fire down the table.
PSAC and roads.
PSAC and roads.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, and we need a second.
Can I second that?
Yes, you can. All right. Let's do roll call. First vote. This is.
Excuse me, sorry. Amanda Suttle,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
Yes.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Nick Cruz,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Right. Next job is the election of co-chairs. Traditionally, this board is led by two chairs. It can be led by one, but traditionally it's been led by two, and that's been for as long as I've been following the board. So we need nominations for co-chairs positions.
I nominate Jen Wingard.
Big one. I'll nominate you. Fair play. All right. Do we have any other nominations? Sure. All right. In that case, we'll need to have a vote on the appointment, or sorry. Yeah, I don't know if we need a motion or we can just vote on the appointment of the two co-chairs as Kelly and I as co-chair.
Somebody just states a motion for you two to be co-chairs.
All right. We need a motion.
I make a motion that Jennifer Wingard and Kelly Ocknick are the co-chairs for Girdwood Board of Supervisors.
All right. We need a second.
I second.
All right. Let's do a roll call vote. Okay.
Amanda Suttle,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
Yes.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Nick Cruz,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Right, on the review of upcoming meetings to be scheduled, we already went through that a little bit. I wanted to do it while we're already on the roads report. Does staff need anything else from us? I think that the next thing to be is scheduled is maybe putting out, would you like a discussion now about possibilities for, I think the first meeting is going to be the budget review meeting, is that correct?
Right. So what I think we'll do is put a poll out, be it everybody's favorite polling. And we'll probably look in May still for the first one. We'll probably look in June for the first budget meeting. And July or August for the second one, so that in September, that way we can make changes. There's the first meeting and the second meeting of the budgets can't be too close together because there may be changes that will take some work to do. So, and then you can approve the budget in September. So that's kind of the general lay of the land. They can be daytime meetings, they can be evening meetings. So if you have preferences, it's helpful to send them to me so that I can try and pull for times that are more likely to work. So if you have absolutely no-go times or days, that's good to know, and I promise I will try to keep them in mind. So that sound like plan?
All right, so in case you didn't catch it, that was a homework assignment for the board members. Stay in touch with her and let her know possible times, because it is kind of a waste of time if the first 5 options on Doodle just automatically don't work for 2 or 3 people, then it just makes for extra work. So you've got your first homework assignment for your positions and your first homework assignment. Welcome to the board. All right. Is there anything else we need on this agenda item?
Nope. Sounds great. Thank you.
I actually had one question. I thought normally our first budget meeting was in July, and I thought that the main issue was getting fire department budget. So are we going to have fire department budget in time for a June budget meeting?
Normally the first budget meeting represents a flat budget.
Okay.
So I think we can probably get there. It is true that the fire department has been more complicated than in the past, but I think in the long run, we can make it work. And we'll also check and see where things are with understanding where our budgets have been so that we are representing it, right?
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the next business item, Girdwood Forest Fair 2026, request for letter of non-objection for permitting and fee. Or welcome, Karen. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. I'm Karen Zaccaro. I am secretary of the Girdwood Forest Fair, also known as the Princess of Paperwork. And so I started in January to get ready for our 2026 Forest Fair. It can be 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July. Parade on 4th of July, Saturday. We are working through all of our permits. Kyle and Margaret are super helpful to keep us on track. And we're still working through all of those, but we're asking for your letter of support now, pending all the approvals and so forth. And also, it's been a tradition for many years for waiving the fees that would have usually been charged for the use of the park. And part of the justification for that is we do a lot to improve the park for the last 50 years. And we spend a lot of time with a lot of the rest of the community in cleaning up the park and kind of prepping it for summer use during our cleanup the week before Forest Fair. I hope you've had a chance to read our site plan, which is basically our operational plan in the packet. There's a little map there. We had a really good fair last year. We've had great fairs, but last year went pretty smooth. We were pretty lucky. I don't want to jinx anything. Things went really well. And so we're not really changing much from what happened last year. So if you have any questions, complaints, I'm open to hearing them. But I did want to tell you some fun updates. We try really hard to make I want to remind everybody, we're a nonprofit and we exist to celebrate the community, provide a free fair that's open to everyone, encourages emerging musicians, handmade art. We really are trying to celebrate the community. We spend a lot of money, we make a lot of money, and we give back as much as we can to the nonprofits in the community. And there's so many people in the community that support us. We have the partnership with the Parks and Rec, with the Day Lodge for the parking. Local restaurants donate food for our volunteers. We just have a lot of love coming into the fair, and we try to share. And we also like to celebrate families and our elders. And so I have 2 good announcements that I want to just shout out for our fair this year. We usually have a grand marshal. We recognize somebody in the community that's contributed just over and over for a long time. So Brooks and Kate Chandler will be our grand marshals this year. So I hope everyone will come out to the parade and wave at them and cheer them on. recognize them for all their contributions to our community. They've been great people for lots of years. And then the other thing is kids, parade theme this year, you gotta love it. Sparkles, glitter, bubbles. No excuse. Everybody can pick one. We're gonna do our best to encourage the biodegradable glitter, but otherwise everybody should have a good time. And I will entertain any questions about anything Forest Fair.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions from the board? Let me start here. Oh, sorry, Kyle.
I'll just give you a staff update. Permitting is coming along nicely. Karen, I think the one thing that we just clarification on where does insurance stand at this point?
We are working on it. We have two vendors that we're working with right now.
Okay. Yep. So that's one of our larger permitting items that we're waiting on, but everything else has been applied for and we're just waiting for a process to get approvals on the different things that they need.
All right. So do we have any questions from the board, online or in the room? No? All right. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
You guys want to move on my motion?
Oh, yes, right. Margaret, is that what you were going to say as well? Yes. Okay. Right. So we need a motion for a letter of non-objection for the permitting and fee waiver for the Forest Fair.
There's a draft in your packet as well. It's at the top of all
There we go.
this. And so were you to pass this, then we would hold on to it and have Brian sign it and fix some of the names at the top, and send it once the permitting is complete.
So even for the sake of discussion, we do need a motion.
Then. So I would like to make a motion that the Girdwood Board of Supervisors approve the letter of support that is in the packet this evening.
And would you like a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Do we have any further discussion on this? Yes. Right.
So through the chair, I would just like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation for all of the effort that the Forest Fair puts into creating an event for the community, and that they prioritize also the impact on the community and do their best to anticipate impacts on the community. And I truly appreciate what you guys do and how you do it.
And I'll second that. Forest Fair is a big part of our family's summer. In fact, we organize around that completely. So anyway, let's go ahead and vote. We'll do roll call.
Amanda Tuttle,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
Yes.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Nick Cruz,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it, Karen. Agenda item LUC 2605-04, planning and zoning case 2026-0062, amendment to 21.05-040G2B to match process for adoption of master parks plan, Turnagain Arm public or private parks with the process to adopt master plans for the Anchorage parks. This has the planning and zoning set for June 8th, and who do we have? Brian, are you speaking to this, or?
I can speak to it.
Staff can speak to it, please.
So this is bringing the Turnagain Arm area parks master planning into alignment with what happens for adoption in Anchorage for parks plans. And so the timing on this is pretty good because we recognize the issue that it didn't match up with what happens in Anchorage. And so the planning department got ahead and got this ready for approval and ahead of our master park plan, which is right behind it. So this is just a process to align it so that we're on the same path that goes through in Anchorage for their master plans. It's been a long time since we've done a master planning process here in the Turnagain Arm area, and particularly in Girdwood. Never done one before, so this will line it up and make the process the same as to what happens in town.
May I ask a question? So the Turnagain Arm parks plan? Is that an MOA plan or is that a state issued plan?
MOA plan.
It is an MOA plan. Why was there a difference in process between that plan and what the parks was doing?
The review process for parks plans on Turning an Arm was different. It was out of date compared to what happens in Anchorage. And so the process was much lengthier, required more things. And whereas in Anchorage, they refined the process to make it more streamlined. So that we haven't done, Turning an Arm hasn't done a master park planning process in probably 20 years. And so it was the first one. So now it's getting alignment with what happens in Anchorage.
Do you know specifically about what was different in that process for the length, like timelines? What was omitted? What was revised?
Hi, Bob Dole, Director for Community and Economic Development. In the language in the code, it talks about when looking at a park plan, you look at a site plan review. A site plan review works great for a park. When you're looking at a master parks plan, that's the whole system though, you don't have site plans to review. So it kind of created inconsistency in code when you look at a master plan. So by doing this, it kind of resolves that discrepancy and provides better guidance to PCC in terms of what they should would be looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Super helpful. Do we have any other questions from the board about this for Kyle? All right. In that case, we need a motion to support this resolution of support.
I'd like to make a motion that Girdwood Board of Supervisors approves this resolution of support this evening.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you. Do we have any further discussion? In that case, I'd like a roll call vote on this as well.
Sure. Amanda Tuttle.
No.
Brian Burnett.
Yes.
Kelly Ocknick.
Yes.
Nick Cruz.
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
I think we're moving to municipal budget items. The municipal room tax funded, so tips, this is the municipal room tax funded tourism improvement projects. And this is something that we've been talking with MOA about, and particularly both Becky and Bob have been really helpful with this. This was something that I noticed that they're doing some interesting work in trying to expand the uses, if I may, if I can summarize it, doing some effort in trying to expand the uses of money that's been going to Visit Anchorage and using it for specific projects. And I raised the question of like, what about Girdwood? And if I understand our conversation before at our last community meeting, the funds are basically allocated and spoken for this year. But there is a possibility that if we had specific projects that we could introduce them as possibilities. And I believe you said October is when that process would take place. Is that correct?
Move over to be a little closer to the microphone. Yes, that's correct. So we'll be considering them as part of the normal budget process here in the past, this year, because it was the first year that we took this approach of reorienting some of the money that's designated by the charter for promotion of tourism as part of the room tax, but had historically always gone to Visit Anchorage. We've taken again this new approach of carving out some of that money to use on other projects in the community that can be tied to that mission of tourism promotion. We did that out of cycle this year because it was the first year of doing that, but they will now be tied into the budget process. So you're absolutely right in summarizing our account that we would love to consider projects that might be of benefit to Girdwood as part of that process. And so we just need to kind of know what those are.
So this is something we would be talking about more as a board through the budget process and other things. But I think one question just right off the bat, and I think we talked about this, but if you could please remind me, or I'm not sure if we had an answer. One of the questions was, would either the housing study and or the RV park feasibility study fall under the possibilities?
It's a really good question, and we did consider it a bit internally. And I think it would come down to the detail of the focus of either of those things and knowing more about both projects. Or I could see a strong argument that a housing study focused specifically on workforce housing that supports the tourism industry could be something that qualifies. Again, we're limited by that charter language about the support for promotion of tourism, which may qualify, whereas a study that's like more broadly based about housing in the Girdwood Valley, more broadly that's not specific, without that specific tourism hook, would be harder to justify under those limitations. The RV park sounds at first blush as though it likely is something that services both, in-state and also out-of-state tourists, and thus would be something that would potentially fall into that bucket of things that are related to the promotion of tourism. But I think it's really just about making sure that it goes back to that legal restriction on the use of the bed tax funds and can be justifiable under that framework.
Do we have any questions from the board?
Yeah, one more question. Is it possible that any of those funds can never be used for public facilities? I'm speaking as a business owner out of the Girdwood Shopping Center, bathrooms, facilities, I'm taking the giant burden at Coast Pizza for the entire gas station when they go down. And
Absolutely.
I even had to speak to 7-Eleven today about it. So I think it's definitely something that this community is interested in. And I know that other business owners, in addition to myself, are very interested in.
And the answer to that is absolutely yes. And some of the money this year has actually been allocated toward exploring other restroom opportunity possibilities in downtown Anchorage and the Town Square Park area. But that's absolutely something that would fall in the category of a, promoting tourism, promotion of tourism kind of project.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? Sorry.
Actually, Nick's got a question there.
Yeah, so the thing that I'm interested in there is like using the money to mitigate some of maybe the impacts of the short-term housing was generating this income. So like, is that within scope at all to not just improve tourism, but use the funds to reduce the impact and the harms that are caused by short-term rentals and the tourism?
The language is literally the promotion of tourism, like that is what is in code and in charter with respect to the bed tax. And so while we don't have extensive case law, adjudicating what does it mean to promote tourism, we have to be operating in that framework somehow. So I think we are open to a conversation about what that looks like. But again, that's the limitation. It's not supporting tourism. It's not, addressing the needs of a tourist community. It is the promotion of tourism is what we have as our limitation. So that's, again, the framework in which we're operating.
Did you follow?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. That's good.
Yeah. So, sorry, Brian, did you have
a question regarding the successful applications for the funds that are currently available? A list and what made their application successful would be nice to know. So as we are putting forward what we'd like to advocate for, we can best advocate for those points.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say also the process is evolving. This year, again, we did this out of cycle, and the focus this year was really on public safety. A significant portion of the funding goes to funding a downtown foot patrol to address public safety issues downtown, and then a public restroom facility downtown as well. And there's some additional funding that's allocated to the PAC, the Performing Arts Center, to address some of the crises that facility is facing. So I think our initial approach was really a triage and public safety approach. It's an evolving process. So I think we don't at this point have like a standard application or a list of particular criteria that will be used. If we think about that more and there is more shape to it, we'll certainly share that with this body as that comes together. And in general, I think, again, we have been trying to think more creatively about things that aren't simply like a marketing campaign for the community, but supporting those key pieces of infrastructure in our public spaces that make Anchorage and Anchorage municipality an attractive place to tourists and ease some of those concerns that we may have about how we field and support tourists when they're in our community.
Thank you. Follow up if I may. Sure. So public safety and public facilities were successful this year.
Correct.
So as we're talking about restrooms and
Waste management.
Waste management. Thank you.
So I really appreciate the creativity on this because I know that we have members of this community, and particularly in the Girdwood Housing and Economic Committee, that looked very closely at the funds that were being generated by the bed tax. And I know that we are tied by the original language of that. We looked at that every direction that we could. And I'm really appreciate that you guys have found some ways to expand the uses of that within the structure of the original bond. So thank you. Thank you. I did want to recommend to this board that maybe we want to specifically ask GHEC to workshop this a little bit so that we're not doing it as a board. This seems to fall under the province of GHEC, and we have a little bit of time if the proposals are not due until October for the fallish. So this falls into our budget cycle. We would have time to ask GHEC to look at this. I don't know that we need a motion. Do we need a motion for that, or are we okay with just throwing it to GHEC?
We can send it down.
All right. I'm so glad to have some of the city representatives. That was so helpful. Thank you. It's just so much quicker than us milling around trying to answer our own questions. Yeah, so you're coming up for the next second.
I was just going to add, as a reference point, if you were not already given AR 2026-55, that is what was passed to allocate the tip money in early March of this year. And I think it would be interesting to look through, again, goes back to the underlying use of the bed taxes and how this tip money was negotiated from there. I also will say, while it goes through our regular budget process, that we are required to consult with Visit Anchorage on projects before it even gets to the budget process. So it would be recommended that you probably approach both the municipality and Visit Anchorage, I would say by early September, so that we understand what type of project you would be interested in. And Bill Falsey, our Chief Administrative Officer, is the lead overall on use of the tip money.
Okay, thank you. All right, the other part of this, if we're done with that particular issue, if no one has anything to add to that, the other part of this is the muni levy for police IT projects. And again, we did talk about this as part of our meeting with MOA. And this comes down to trying to figure out if there was any way we could come up with ways of using those funds that would be, if I understand it, Girdwood / Anchorage municipality specific and not shared with Whittier, even though it's the Whittier Police Force, and it's because of the structures on the bond, on the funds.
Myself back over again. And that's again, absolutely correct. The challenge is that those funds have to be spent on something that is owned and used in the municipality. So if there are ways to purchase technology that supports Whittier PD while they're working within the municipality policing in Girdwood, then that's something that would be eligible for use in that levy. I had understood the initial ask to potentially be something that was more Whittier. It was like a overall computer program purchase that supported the police department, which is again not harder to justify as a purchase under that levy as being municipal property used within the municipality to support policing in the municipality. But if there are ideas that are things that are, technology that are used by Whittier PD when they are here doing their work, there's certainly something that could be considered for support with that levy, those levy funds.
So if we don't have any other comments or questions from the board, one thing I might propose there is that we throw that to PSAC and see if they can come up with something that would fall under those structures. How's that sound? Love that.
My head had some ideas already.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Do we have any other, do we need anything else on this, or do we have any other comments? I'm going to move on otherwise. All right, thank you so much. So helpful for being here. All right, next item, FCC delegate clarification. We have two things on this. One is I should have mentioned earlier on when we had our assignment of roles. Throughout this last year, we've had a number of discussions on whether or not to have an FCC delegate, and I'll admit I might have fallen on the side of no for much of this year, but that is how I learned about tips. That's about how I've learned about a lot of the things, and I have learned about I have learned that there is actually a lot of overlap and concerns, everything from park access to interactions with DOT, with the other community councils. And so I've actually switched my vote on this to feeling like it is helpful to have a representative. And as we are talking about the assignment of roles and everything else, this fall, it was handed over to the LUC, but it does not have to stay there. So one of the things I would like to discuss here is, one, if we want to be a part of FCC or if we feel strongly that we don't. And then two, if we are going to be part of FCC, who gets to do it?
If I may, if we are going to engage a FCC delegate from Girdwood, I would like to suggest that it does go through land use, as that allows us to involve our households that are up at the top of Crow Creek Road and part of the municipality of Anchorage, whereas technically at this desk, we do not have the ability to speak for them, or the authority, if I should say, just ability.
So there's an interesting thing about that. I'm really glad you brought that up. We had in the past thought that LUC could elect this position, but got the advice opinion this fall that it needed to be a GBOS member because of the way we are set up to be the ex officio community council. We're in this odd thing where LUC functions like the council, but we're technically, according to our bylaws, the ex officio council. So I would actually agree with Brian, much as I hate to admit it, in this particular case, just in this particular case, that there would be an argument for keeping it with LUC.
I support keeping it with IUC, and I support staying involved, especially if, as an attending member, you have beneficial things. So, I mean, you've shared with me some of the trainings and stuff like that. So I think we are getting value from your participation. So I nominate you to keep participating.
I go back to our land policy is very complicated in this community, and it takes an expert level to really understand what it is. And with my level of expertise, I firmly believe we're under the 1995 Girdwood Area Plan. We are state public lands that have either been state or selected or conveyed to the municipality of Anchorage. That in and of itself means that we are state public lands. We'll never be municipal lands. We'll always be state public lands, either selected or conveyed to the municipality. And what that means is that the DNR holds ultimate jurisdiction over our lands, meaning HLB must always ask for approval from DNR for any land transaction. I'm adamant about this because of the confusion that has gone on since we've been incorporated in 1984. And I think this is one of those things where it gets sloppy underneath because people don't understand where we lie. FCC is formed under the Anchorage Comprehensive Plan. Again, the comprehensive plan is an indicative that it's a municipal issued plan. Girdwood Area Plan is indicative that it's a state issued plan. As gentleman stated here earlier, it's really complicated when you have a bunch of site specific plans underneath that don't fall under the master plan that overrides it. So my problem with, although I understand that it is extremely informative for us to be a part of this because we are, technically, an Anchorage neighborhood. They're not our response zone. We are not reliant on them for anything. We are on our own down here. We are not the Anchorage Municipal Plan. We are the 1995 Girdwood Area Plan. The FCC board is formed under the Anchorage Comprehensive Plan, and I believe it's Appendix C. I firmly state that and object to us being a part of it because I think it's provided too much confusion and misled a lot of policies development for our valley.
All right, thank you. I think I know that this is our first meeting as a new board, but we've kind of strayed into discussion versus, questions and no, that's okay. That's right. It's our first meeting. So for this stage right here, what we need is what we need is a motion to even for the sake of discussion, we should have a motion in the positive to be a member of an FCC. If we want to discuss this at all. Or if we want to be in FCC, then I need a motion. I need someone to make a motion that we will be in FCC. And I'm going to actually would combine Ken's recommendation that it be the LUC supervisor, just to simplify.
I guess I'm a little bit confused. Well, wait, do we have to have a motion on the table to have a discussion?
Yes. Yes. So we can, the subject can be introduced, but in order for us to debate this, at the point at which it turns into debate, you have to have a motion on the table. You have to have a for or against. It has to be a for or against discussion because it comes down to yes or no.
Okay, well, for the sake of discussion, then I'll move that we do have participation on the FCC and that participation be the land use supervisor.
Second that.
Thank you. Okay, so we've already had a statement opposed and very well informed. Thank you. And so from here, do we have any other? I do see that we have a hand up online, but from here right now, do we have anybody on the board who wants to speak to this motion?
I just have a question. I'm somewhat surprised. I didn't see this one coming because my understanding is that because of the decision that we made in October that it would be the land use supervisor, that we are participating on the FCC. And so I'm somewhat confused about what inflection point we're at now that's causing us to reconsider it.
Thank you for that question. And the way I would answer it is that that decision in the fall was made under a certain amount of duress and to deal with a certain situation that had arisen in which we kind of needed somebody right away. But the promise essentially was made to the community that we would revisit whether or not we want anything at all. And a big part of that was the bylaw discussions. And so what happened is we found out as a community that there were bylaw changes in process for FCC. And so we wanted to have somebody at the table officially elected to vote for or against those bylaws. Well, those bylaws have now passed. And so that moment has passed, that to some extent era has passed. And so now the question, now is the opportunity where we get to revisit the question of it. But you're absolutely right. I can understand why it's confusing.
And has land use already discussed and voted on this question?
No, and if you would prefer that it goes to land use first, that is absolutely an option. We can do that.
I tend to think it should be. I'd be curious what other members of the board would say.
I'd be happy with that.
While I'm generally one that supports collaboration across broad areas within the community and within our community of Anchorage, I am not necessarily in favor of us moving forward with participation at the Federation of Community Councils.
Okay. Are you comfortable with sending the question to LUC, or would you prefer that we decide it here?
I would appreciate moving it to LUC.
Okay. And yes.
I also think that we should take it back to LUC, as LUC does represent Crow Creek and the other neighborhoods that exist within this valley.
Right.
So I'd like to update my motion, amend the motion that we ask LUC to discuss and recommend the future participation of Girdwood on the Federation of Community Councils.
Okay. And is the second, are you okay with that amendment?
Is that a clarification? Is that asking them to choose someone or asking them if they would?
Asking them to recommend whether or not Girdwood participate so that the discussion can be had. And then we can take the recommendation of the community into account when we as a board decide what the participation should be.
I'll keep my second.
Okay. Do we have general consent? I don't know if we need a roll call vote on this. Do we have general consent? Do we have any who oppose that idea of sending this question to LUC? Do we have any opposition? Okay. there's nobody who opposes, oh, wait, sorry. Mike, I didn't mean to ignore you. Did you have something you wanted to weigh in on this?
Thanks. Yeah, just a couple of quick things. I think there's one clarification and then I think actually a question for the board. The clarification is the FCC is not actually mentioned anywhere in code or in any plans or anything like that. It's a non-profit organization that supports community councils. Community councils are mentioned in code and in the charter for the municipality. And we have a community council in Girdwood. So by the structure of the SEC, we will be a member council. It's not a decision we can make independently. What Girdwood can do is choose whether or not to send a delegate to coalition meetings at the FCC, and I think that's a good discussion to have and a good argument to make at future LUC meetings. I think the question I have is if you do vote to push this down to LUC, does this mean that the current Jennifer, who's currently acting as delegate, ceases to be delegate or continues to be delegate until LUC makes a decision? I think that would be helpful for I'm speaking on behalf of the FCC chair. That would be helpful for the FCC to understand that position. So if you could clarify that at some point this evening, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
I think since, from my perspective, and I'll take the perspective of the board, but until there's a change, there's no change. So we're asking LUC to determine the future, but until that determination is made, then the vote in October would stand that the LUC is officially the Girdwood representative to the Board of Supervisors. Or sorry, to the FCC.
That would be excellent if that's the understanding of the board. It's really good to have that on the record. So thank you.
So do we have anybody on the board who objects to, one, throwing this back to LUC, and two, to continuing with the status quo until such time as a different decision is made? Do you have any objections to that at all?
No.
All right, then we're going to pass that one by consensus and move on. We have another issue to deal with.
Okay, I have another concern with regard to FCC, and I'd like to put a motion on the table that we void the GBOS vote in March 2026 regarding the FCC delegation. And my concern is that a recused member participated in the discussion for and voted on a matter for which he had a demonstrated and ruled upon conflict of interest, which had also been upheld with the municipality legal opinion. The motion includes sending a letter to the FCC to clarify that Girdwood did not have an official FCC delegate from January of 2021 to October of 2025, when the LUC supervisor was elected to that role. And it should be stated that Mike Edgington was not elected as FCC delegate by either LUC or GBOS and was therefore not a legitimate delegate at any point.
I second that.
All right, do we have any discussion?
This seems to be a little outside of the scope of the agenda item.
I understand that concern, but it was brought to my attention that there was a mistake made and, excuse me, and sorry, timer went off. To the same extent that we looked at the January discussion, again, we should be able to look at the March discussion again. Right. Is there any further discussion on this from the board? Do we have any other comments from the board? All right.
I agree with this decision. It was determined through the municipality of Anchorage, through the lawyers department, that the conflict of interest was upheld. The procedures were followed, and we've discussed this in great detail. So I am going to call this to question.
I second that.
Right, on the call to question, we vote as a board on whether or not to vote now. So I'm going to ask Kyle to roll call. Once a called question has been made and once it has been seconded, there is no further discussion on whether or not we vote. So Kyle, could you please roll call?
Amanda Hedl,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
No.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Nick Cruz,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, in that case, we go straight to a vote. The vote on the motion as stated. Does anyone need the motion restated?
I think restated.
Okay,
The motion is to void the GBOS vote in March of 2026 regarding the FCC delegation. A recused member participated in the discussion for and voted on a matter for which he had a demonstrated and ruled upon conflict of interest, which had also been upheld by municipality legal opinion. The motion includes sending a letter to the FCC to clarify Girdwood did not have an official FCC delegate from January of 2021 to October of 2025, when the LUC supervisor was elected to that role. Mike Edgington was not elected as FCC delegate by either the LUC or GBOS and was therefore not a legitimate delegate at any point.
roll call vote, please.
Amanda Hedl,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
No.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Nick Cruz,
No.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
All right, I believe that is it on that item. Moving on to our last old business item, we lift up the agenda item LUC 2605-05, the annual marijuana license renewal for the Herbal Catch. We have a staff request. Actually, it looks like it was on consent agenda. Do we have to renew that again? We're good, right?
Yeah, I tried to help you. I went too far.
No, you know what? It's something that we can check off that quickly. Amen. Let's do it. Okay. We're moving on to new business then. Girdwood Fire Department request for the GBOS resolution of support and approval for not to exceed 20,000 for annual replacement of fire hose turnouts and mattresses from the GBSA fire capital account.
So these are just introductions for capital requests, but it's straightforward as what it says there, but we can talk more about it at next month's meeting. But they are just trying to keep up on the turnout or the downgrade of old equipment.
Right, is there anything else we need to discuss on that, just for now?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. You can get into the details at next month's meeting, but we just want to introduce it tonight.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to go ahead and address item number 12 as well?
Yes, and we'll talk more about this, but this is a resolution of support for a new command vehicle, which I do believe we will be able to move forward on. We just had a question on engine 41, which has not arrived. Now it looks like it's probably delayed until fall arrival. It is complete. It needs to go to Spokane for I'm talking about engine 41 here. It needs to go to Spokane for final outfit, and then it'll be shipped up here, and then they'll take some time to get logoed and radios. But we just want to make sure everything's in line with that machine, that apparatus being paid for before we fully commit to the command vehicle. But we should be able to sort that over the next month. So we want to have this as old business at month's meeting.
All right, so do we have any questions about that at this point? All right, moving on. Agenda item LUC 2504-04, the GHEC and LUC recommendation for GBOS to provide input and move forward on draft ordinance with MOA to allow more flexibility for small forms of housing and relocatable dwelling units, GR1, GC5, and GC8 zoning districts. And if we could get the map pulled up, we could explain those. The GC8 is the current trailer area behind Grind, which is grandfathered in but not officially zoned for the relocatables. And then GC5 is in South Townsite, I'm correct? And you can see GR1 runs along the length of Alyeska Highway.
I noticed that Brooks or Crystal aren't here, and I believe they plan to be here for next month's meeting with this old business. But within the packet is the map, which gives clarification. But also, this is based on. Sorry, it's really big now. I don't know where it is. In the packet is the proposed change they show for code, and happened there. It's disappeared because I went to the map. Too much digital. There we go. Wow. Okay, and you can see here this spells out, and the Brooks and Crystal have put this together, and this is a chance for you guys to read through it here in the next month, which would be the change of allowed uses in those zones, GR1, GC5, and GC8. And I'll let them talk in more detail about it, but this is to allow more flexibility to put smaller residents, particularly small homes that might be on wheels into residents. And they call out how it should be allowed within code, with it trying to blend well with the existing homes, and that these relocatable dwelling units on individual lots in these districts. But also it still allows for the trailer park to work down there, because currently right now, like for example, this winter we had a trailer that burned down there, and they can't rebuild with a new trailer there because it's now allowed within code. So this would allow for that in that area to happen as well. So, but they should be here at next month's meeting to have a larger discussion with you about it. And I believe, is this still in land use right now, or has it been approved? Land use.
Land use voted to move it forward.
Okay, so yes.
They have some recommendations on the last page.
Yes.
Question. The two of them make good sense to me. Do you know why GR1 was proposed to be included? South Town site and the existing park makes sense to me, but the GR1 part is less obvious to me.
I think Crystal specifically wanted to have it on there, having to do with the GCLT projects off of Ruane.
The Orca View Point lot there.
Okay, so it's specific to Orchid View,
Mm-hmm.
or that's the reason
Mm-hmm.
to create flexibility.
Yes. You said on the last page?
Just the last page of this topic, if you keep going down past the map.
The last page of this topic, there is
There.
kind of a summation of the LUC.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In our packet, we
Yeah.
had
I have it. Apparently I got it lost someplace in the packet. Maybe it's higher. Maybe I didn't transfer over. But anyway, DHEC itself came up with some additions to consider, including skirting around the base unit at the base of the mobile dwelling, requirement of connection to sewer, and requirement for street facing facade to match that of the main dwelling. And then in the LUC discussion, concern that grouping smaller units along Alyeska Highway would impact the view shed, and consider removal of the relocatable dwelling unit community for GR1. Consider line 245 in section 9 regarding design standards. They did agree with the connection to sewer. So it's just an ongoing conversation about ways to improve this, which would probably happen, in fact, with like planning and zoning rather than here specifically.
If we're not taking it up, there's another land use committee meeting between now and when we would take it up as new business here.
They voted to move it to you, so they have made the decision to move it forward.
Okay,
It has
yes, no, I was just wondering if there was, the conversation at GHEC was that there might be value in like a joint discussion of it, and some of the things you just brought up are less in the recommendation form and the more of, yeah, we think this is good, but you ought to consider these not insubstantial issues when you take it up, which is not the clarity of a recommendation that is oftentimes as useful at GBOS as one that's more resolved than question asking. And so I just wonder if there's a more robust conversation to have at LUC with GHEC potentially to actually get into these issues. My understanding that it wasn't a super well attended LUC meeting, and I simply wonder if there's, but I wasn't there, but if there would value from a deeper, more intentional discussion with more people. I don't know, Jen, you were there, so you would have better input on that.
So according to my records, there were 8 or 9 people at the fixing meeting. So in answer to that, and most of them were there to present on topics. So, yeah. I wouldn't call it robust. Do we have any other comments from members of the board? Let me start there. You want to start with Brian and then you, Amanda, after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess just a general question as we are talking about the support for sewer hookups. If there are any further concerns from either public safety or fire department on recommendations for hooking up for electricity and for whether it's propane or natural gas service.
My question definitely follows up with Brian was just saying, coming from the fire departments and public safety aspect, only 50% of our homes in this community are protected by fire service, and our fire department's a nonprofit. And going down that stretch on some of those, that would be my concern too. If we start going to more higher density, dwellings, what is the resources that, Chief Weston can get there. But then also to circle back, the traffic study, again, we keep on doing, we can only do so many spurs off of the main route before, increasing the safety risk, right? And so when you've got some high densities, so in addition to GHEC, being involved with this discussion, I think that I would like to see it kind of be a more well-rounded, because the impacts will be significant as much as they are very much needed in this community.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up the traffic study. And since we have MOA people here, when did we do that resolution? Like a year ago? Asking MOA to complete a traffic study because one was never completed when Holton Hills had been approved. And then there isn't a comprehensive one that would take in, the existing traffic augmentation, all the ongoing construction, future projects. I think that one went into a black hole. So can you guys comment on what the status is of MOA conducting a traffic study for Girdwood?
I don't have an answer to it right now, but I can circle back and make sure we'll figure out and I'll give you an answer.
Yeah, I think that would be super helpful. And then I think your point, Amanda, is really well made that those are the types of things that we need to be thinking about as we consider this. So thank you.
Yeah, the thing I'm thinking about here too is if we do this, effectively, we're just adopting the municipality's definition of a relocatable unit. And I'm just curious if the municipality has any thoughts on if they're changing the designation for relocatable units and changing the code around that, like manufactured homes, think about including those, or like basically I'm wondering, do we know what we're signing up for? Or are there going to be changes coming down the pipeline for what that designation actually could mean?
Through the chair, at this, Bob Dole, at this point, there's no contemplated changes in terms of how we define these. That is going through the process. I would add that in Title 23, we have guidelines for how they should be safely hooked up for your electricity, your gas, if you have gas, water, sewer, and also if it isn't on a fixed foundation, how to secure it so it doesn't fall over in an earthquake.
Thanks.
So one of the things I brought up at LUC, and I guess I'm still not clear on the answer, is I just wanted to make sure that after all that work that we did on the Girdwood comprehensive plan, that our relocatables are consistent with the idea of maintaining a mountain culture and atmosphere. And so my understanding is we have some pretty liberal zoning in Girdwood compared to a lot of the Anchorage. I know that Anchorage is all over the map still on some zoning, but we've allowed, we have businesses and within a residential area as long as it looks residential, and we're allowing combined business and residences and all of this. But it seemed to me that in that process, Girdwood made it really clear we wanted a certain look more than usage. It was look. It was kind of a different way of looking at zoning, but that was my understanding of the Girdwood comprehensive plan. And so I wasn't sure. And maybe Kelly, you can speak to this. Unfortunately, I have missed the last few GHEC meetings. So I don't know if that was vetted or discussed. I know Crystal mentioned being really interested in tiny homes. I'm very interested in tiny homes, but there's a difference between what those look like and what, say, like the trailer park next to the grind looks like. And especially with the swath of land that we're talking about, GR1 is gigantic along Alaska Highway. That it could really affect like the fundamental entrance and feel of our town. I just want to make sure we're being careful and fully vetting this, I guess. Not necessarily opposed, but just not sure I feel it's vetted.
Yeah, no, that element wasn't discussed, and I think my concern and where I would agree with you on vetting it is, yeah, the idea of tiny homes and certain ideas of things we do want, those are fantastic, and I'm generally supportive. It's just what it opens up to that, you know, are there unintended consequences and have we understood those? And that's the part that I don't have a deep appreciation of personally.
Okay, so I have a question for the board. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. My furthest comment, my utmost comment when it comes to housing, I firmly believe if HLB would actually give this community commercial industrial land, we wouldn't be sitting in this situation. But, you know, we've never been given commercial industrial land. And so we're being forced to change our residential into multi, you know, unintended uses of the designation. So as much as I really appreciate this, I feel it's just a Band-Aid on the issue until HLB gives us commercial and industrial land as this community has asked for decades. We're being forced to, you know, change our zoning and do these things that are in variances to our plans that we've already passed forward. So that's just kind of where I feel about that.
All right, so we have a decision to make as a board. This comes back to us as old business. One option is this comes back to us as old business next month and we workshop it here with the community. Or the other option is we throw it back to either LUC or GHEC with specific questions. So I'd like to know if there's a feeling from the board on which route you would prefer. Like if we feel ready to pass if we feel like we might be ready to pass this, we might as well keep it on the agenda for next month.
I'm not comfortable passing it as is. I would want to know more about density populations and long-term impacts to our public services and public infrastructure.
Before we pass something like this, I would appreciate having Chief Weston attending. I am concerned about approving relocatable housing in zones that might not have fire hydrant services. And I would be very interested to hear fire department comments specifically related to this type of housing and how you manage structure fires.
Actually, so Chief Weston, I believe, is still online. Is that something that you would like to address now? Or would you prefer to handle that within a committee or at another meeting?
I would say that we could look at other codes, right? Other fire codes or other communities that have these and have addressed the situation, right? So it would require a bit of research to make sure that we right size it for our community and make sure that we're taking in best practices and the experience of other communities that have found ways to support the small homes, but still have a degree of fire safety.
So that could be a question either for, I guess that would be a question through GHEC that we would handle that. Sorry, Michelle. Would you read that as
no, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I really think you could tie in the you could ask the question of the expertise of the municipalities' fire prevention, you know, the code enforcement officials. I can do independent research as well. But there are code people. We do have one person on staff that actually has code experience. That's our community risk reduction coordinator, Jeff Dobson. And then, but I just would need to do some research on it, right? So, but we should also loop in like fire prevention, the true code officials. So that's a thing to do. And again, yes, I share with the concerns about when we keep putting density in areas that will apparently never have a hydrant system. We just need to have a plan of how we are going to address things. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think all that said, I think it would be helpful to workshop it again at LUC and bring these specific questions back to get LUC community guidance on. And I mean, I think ask GHEC to participate in that discussion, but my gut feels it should happen at LUC, and you gave everybody else jobs, so now I'm giving you a job. How do you
Got nothing to do. What is the rest of the board
do
think?
your thing?
Oh, what does the rest of the board think? No, what would you, is the board comfortable with throwing this back to, we want LUC and not GHEC?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we have specific questions about fire and about density and about coherent or applications, sorry, what's the word?
Consistency.
Consistency,
comprehensive plan,
thank you.
And then, unintended consequences are what we leave comments open to. And any concerns the community has in that realm. Like if that's the spirit in which I suggest LUC over GHEC, because it functions as a community council. And it's largely the community that I would value deeper input on. And with the insights and guidance from Brooks and other members, I think Brooks is largely, well, anybody from GHEC, but.
Okay. Yes.
I would also add to that list of concerns of like the economic, like what would be the prospective purchase price of those houses versus other houses. Like in general, I guess I would say that this project seems like the exact right idea that I'd be supportive of if we're trying to make houses more affordable. And so thinking about it in terms of also just like, does it actually solve that problem? And my first thought is it would be, but just double check.
Okay, here's what I would like to propose. I'd like to propose that list of concerns go to GHEC. If they are able to workshop any of it or answer any of it, that's fine, because GHEC meets before LUC. But ultimately, we're asking LUC as well. In fact, I'd like to have both of them just take a look at it, because Crystal's done so much work on these small houses and all of this. So, and I'm fairly sure she would be able to answer like your question right off the bat. And so if you guys are comfortable with that, I wouldn't mind that our questions get essentially washed through GHEC, answer what they can, and then bring those answers for further discussion to LUC. Are we comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yeah, and I will say that the discussion at GHEC was that there wasn't a big rush on this, so there's not some looming time pressure. It's just one of those, don't let a good idea die type things. So,
okay.
So I think they're more than willing to take what it takes to bring it through at whatever time scale.
Okay. That being said, since this is new business, we don't need to make any other decisions on it other than that. And I believe that is the last time on the agenda. Am I missing anything?
I'm moved to adjourn.
Second. All right. Move to adjourn. Congratulations. You made it through your first meeting. And thank you so much to the city. I can't believe you stayed here through all the.
Yeah.
Well, incredible.